Tonight on Joy News Prime, 2 confirmed dead following renewed clashes over royalties in Savannah region. Police on a manhunt for suspects. We look back on the ambitious quest to develop Ghana and to rival, if not to better Singapore. 25 years down the line, we take a look at Ghana's Vision 2020.
Oh, we have tried achieving some of these sectoral targets. Just that many believe that we are not where Singapore is today. That was the ultimate achievement. And we know that why we are not where Singapore is today.
And in business,
Social Security and National Insurance Trust says the scheme is not under threat despite an increase in pension payment benefits by at least 11%.
Very important is your ability to pay, because the pensions are such that, it's not something that you can defer. When the month comes and the time comes, they have to see the money.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Joy News Prime comes to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle in Accra on digital address GA09925339 on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. Please stay tuned in. Many thanks for choosing us. 2 persons have been confirmed dead at Nakura, a suburb of the Northeast Gonja district of the Savannah region, following renewed clashes over a piece of land between 2 neighboring communities, Kitiwura and Chongna. Ata Mbali, 34 years, and Al-Hassan Karim, 29, died before police in Salaga moved in to restore calm to the area. Reports indicate that the 2 rival chiefs, Chogna Ibrahim and Kitiwura Al-Hassan, have for some time been battling over royalties for the disputed parcel of land. Police in the region say they are on a hunt for the killers. We'll hear from Savannah Commander shortly, but first listen to Charles Andara, a development worker in the area, condemning the incident.
It's sad, but I think we as social workers, we can't, what we will only seek the authorities to do is that whatever differences that our brothers are having, the appropriate authorities should at least come to their aid. And other organizations, conflict management organizations, should try their possible best, come and then see how to resolve these issues so that once and for all.
And what about the loss of lives? The others who lost their family are also angry.
Yes, they'll be angry, of course. We are all human beings. Losing a relative is not an easy thing. But then we only look for the future. We are looking for future development. What has transpired, at least the conflict management authorities, they will have their own ways of bringing these families, consoling these families, and then at the end of the day, we will have a very peaceful land as far as it is a new region, and then we are all seeking and praying for more development. The little financial support that government will be able to give to us would rather have to be diverted for conflict management and then solving, managing security things, purposes at that particular area. Yes, they will be managing the security situations, but if it is on normal basis, maybe the cost involved will be normal.
Savannah Region Police Commander DCOP Enoch Bediako joins us on the phone with more on this. Good evening to you, sir. Thanks for your time on Joy News Prime. DCOP, you're on Joy News Prime. If you can hear me, we understand the areas have been deserted. Is it that bad?
Really, the place has been deserted by the community. Yeah, in fact, Mojepe is a small community. It's a small community. So all the people have left the place.
So what's the police's own account of what happened?
Well, our initial investigation points out to the fact of collection of royalties. That is the immediate cause of this incident. There might be some remote causes, but for now, the police can talk of immediate cause, which involves around collection of royalties.
And has any arrest been made yet?
Not yet. Not yet, but we are closing in. We are closing in. We are hoping that by the close of the week we will get some suspects to arrest for justice to be done.
Grateful for your time. DCOP Enoch Bediako, a Savannah region commander, and he's been giving us accounts of police in that region on that murder case. Now, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry is warning the public against paying for recruitment into the security agencies. The minister is urging persons from whom monies are demanded to report to the nearest police station as it amounts to fraud. Ambrose Derry made the statement in an exclusive interview with Joy News on the margins of a party held for residents of Nandom constituency to start the new year.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry's interview largely hinged on three issues: protocol recruitment into the security services, the lack of a befitting regional police and immigration headquarters for some regions, and the current state of security in the country. On the issue of protocol recruitment, Ambrose Derry was unequivocal, denying that nothing of such exists in the country.
My attention has been drawn to some messages, WhatsApp messages that have been sent around, purportedly in respect of protocol recruitment, where persons are required to pay monies for such recruitment. Let me make it very clear. There are no protocol recruitments into any security service in this country for which you are supposed to pay monies or fees. These are fraudsters, people who want to collect monies for unsuspecting citizens. Let me make it clear that any time you are asked or approached by anybody to pay monies to be recruited to any security service, your first reaction should be to report the person to the nearest police station or indeed any other security agency so that the person will be apprehended. All the names that my attention have been drawn to, such as Mr. Jemfi, Emmanuel, are all fake names.
The second issue he touched on was government's plan to construct befitting headquarters for the Ghana Police and Immigration Services. Narrowing the issue to the Upper West region and the case of the Upper West Police Headquarters, the project was started 4 years ago, abandoned, and site overtaken by grass. Yet, several personnel of the service are crammed in offices that could be best described as corridors or cubicles with little or no ventilation.
The all 10 regions is the Upper West alone that did not have before I took office, and we are working on that. As I speak to you, we are going through processes, and in fact, work is ongoing. We want to make sure that we get resources to make sure we complete that headquarters, and also to establish regional headquarters of our agencies in the 6 new regions. So far, I would think that we are on course. In the case of the immigration, we are yet to deal with that. Immigration has built a number of offices all over the country, and I believe that the Upper West is part of the program. All I can say is that in my district, for instance, when I was asked to declare some priority projects, I declared an office for the immigration service as one of them. I would encourage other stakeholders, my fellow MPs, and other persons who are in position to determine priority projects to do so, take into consideration the establishment of essential infrastructure for our security agencies.
The Interior Minister, who also doubles as a member of Parliament for Nandom constituency, spoke about how Ghanaians are secured due to pragmatic steps taken by the government.
His Excellency the President has adequately invested, equipping the security agencies, taking care of their welfare, and the Operation Father Christmas that was launched by.
It was an ambitious quest to develop Ghana and to rival, if not better, Singapore. This is some 25 years ago, and at the time of its inception, this dream seemed far off in the future. We've just begun our journey into 2020, so we ask what happened to Vision 2020. In 1995, the NDC administration under President Jerry John Rawlings launched the Vision 2020 document that was put together by the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, as Ghana's blueprint for sustainable socio-economic development. My colleague MFR Power has been interacting with another colleague, Raymond Akwa. She first asked him what the march talked about Vision 2020 is all about.
So we're taking a look at the policy framework Vision 2020, and we are in the year 2020. We're assessing it to find out where we are with it. My colleague Raymond Akwa joins me in studio with details of all that we need to know about the Vision 2020 document. Raymond, let's start off with what Vision 2020 is all about.
So we called it a National Development Policy Framework. I.e., we set for ourselves that between the years 1996 to 2020, we're going to achieve a certain level of development. Basically, what we said we wanted was a balanced economy with a middle-income country status and standard of living. That by the year 2020, we would have reached the level of Singapore.
And that's what we're looking at?
For ourselves, yes.
Interesting, but you know a bit about Singapore, though, because this is what we're setting to, that's our target. What do we know about Singapore?
So we know that Singapore had actually created an open and liberal market economy. It was founded on competition, initiative, and creativity. They employed science and technology in deriving what they call the maximum productivity of their people. That is, in terms of health, social development, in terms of economic development, in terms of all the other facets of the living of the people, they had improved from what used to be a backwater, malaria-infested state to a progressive one, where the standards of living of the people had very much gone very high to the admiration of the entire world. We also knew that their lifespan had projected big time. So this was a state that nobody had hoped in, yet within the period that they went through their development phase, they had actually advanced in ways that we wanted to copy them.
Well, we are in 2020, we would assess whether we are at that level, Singapore's level. But by 2020, though, what did we plan to achieve according to the document?
So we wanted a generation with a country, with the people who had long, healthy, and what you call a productive life for all individuals, and that we had access to enlarged sources and ranges for employment, for shelter, and also leisure. We also wanted to have the benefits of development being distributed across the state in a way that both the similarly poor and also the rich would benefit from the basic things that they needed. We also wanted to bridge the poverty gap between the rich and the poor. We wanted to at least reduce poverty to the barest minimum, so we'll have people having the basics of life and developing along the line. We wanted to reduce population growth from what was the present level at the time of about 3% to 2% every single year. This is because we know that as of the time that we're discussing that, our population was not growing as fast, or we needed, so we wanted to create a robust, diversified, and what was called a commercially based agricultural sector. We believe that at the point that we're speaking about how to go by Vision 2020, we're still largely doing the hunting and gathering kind of agric. We are not expanded, and agribusiness was not at the forefront of our engagements. We wanted the agri sector to be the basis of production. So the food products, instead of taking them to abroad or other places, would find a place in the industry by growing the manufacturing base, building factories that can convert them to products that will sell at rates that will get profit from it for the state, for individuals, and this will provide jobs for the people. This will also lead to transformation of cities and towns like mining did in some of the areas that we knew over the period of time. So basically that's what we wanted to do, with the idea that when we do sustainable development, we will get to the point where people will be independent, people will be able to live beyond what was the 54 average lifespan for the Ghanaian at the time.
Okay. But well, like we were discussing before we had to talk, you were explaining to me that after this policy framework was put together, every government that has come along the line, because this was put together under the Rawlings regime, so every government that has come along the line have had to develop their own frameworks to fit into this vision. Tell us about what you know.
There's a long-term development framework, which was the Vision 2020. Each of the governments had their own plan as in a medium-term framework. Immediately, we put together Vision 2020. The first 5 years was for what was called the Coordinated Program of Economic and Social Development Policies. This was for the first 5 years. And what was it supposed to do? It was to ensure human development, economic growth, rural development, urban development, and provide an enabling environment for development. First 5 years, accelerated growth, pushing up what was already done. And this was between 1996 and 2000.
Was it achieved?
Largely, we tried making giant strides in the areas. But when Kufuor came in, we moved from that medium-term framework to what we called the growth and poverty. First was Ghana Poverty Reduction Strategy 1, GPRS 1. Then we moved in the Kufuor second term to the Growth and Poverty Reduction Strategy, GPRS 2. When Kufuor was removed, the Mills administration also brought its own development plan. Virtually within the space, every government has sought to do a medium term to fit into the bigger brackets. One of the things we did very well at was the poverty reduction. The places we didn't do so well when it came to social development, health, for example, we also did not achieve so much when it comes to the other sanitation-related stuff. Water expansion and access, we did well. It's the quality that's always been a problem when it comes to the area of water development. The other places that we thought we had done was rural and urban development. Do you know that within the same space, when we transitioned into 2006 going to 2011, by 2012, we had a larger section of our population, more than 50%, living in urban areas compared to those who are living in the rural areas, which was not the case before that particular time. Indeed, between 1992 and 2006, we had halved poverty, which was within the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals. It was to access to halve poverty within a period. By 2006, we had already cleared that. We have halved poverty from what used to be 51% of the population being poor to less than 27 or so being poor. And over the period, we are seeking to work at that. When we transition into our current system, we have tried to take each of the sectors and work on. What we've not been able to do properly is to put all together in achieving the collective goal. As of 2013, government was reporting that we're a middle-income lower country. Okay. As in the vision of 2020 being middle income, we have launched towards that direction by becoming a middle-income lower country. That had its own challenges when it comes to aid inflow, but also had prospects that all the things we have done in the years before had made us go in the direction that we're supposed to go. So in all, we have tried achieving some of these sectoral targets. Just that many believe that we are not where Singapore is today. That was the ultimate achievement. And we know that why we are not where Singapore is today.
Well, so overall, just before we wrap up, you've talked about us attaining the lower middle income status as a country. But by 2020 also, is there anything else that we should be looking back on? You've talked about halving poverty as well, and then becoming a lower middle income country. Any other significant thing?
We had become middle income lower. What we have not achieved, which has worsened over the period, is the poverty variation, or what we call the gap between the rich and the poor. So over the period, whilst we have reduced poverty largely, we have also increased the gap between the rich and the poor. We've not been able to do much in that direction. When it comes to actual delivery on sanitation, we've not done much on that. Environmental protection too, we've not really geared towards. So the health and sanitation areas, we've not done much, even with the MDGs, what they call attainment. We did so well with primary education. We did so well with improving education access. But the bigger question has been the quality of the education we are delivering. So we touch on various parts, except that we need to develop in a more coordinated way to achieve the goals that we ought to achieve going forward. And again, even though between 2008 to 2012, getting to 13, on the average, we're doing so well when it comes to GDP growth. We slumped from 2013 to 2016, falling below the average 8%. We have gotten back, if you check what's happening now. Between 2017 to 2019, we are still averaging 6, 7, and 8%. For us to get where we want to get to, we need average 10% of GDP, which we've not achieved so far. So that's where we should be looking at going.
Okay. Raymond, we are grateful. Thank you.
That was Raymond Akwa on Vision 2020. Now, the spiritual versus the scientific, that is what it is looking like as we begin the election year. At crossover services to usher in 2020, some notable prophets prophesied victory for President Akufo-Addo, with others predicting a win for John Mahama. We start with prophetic Nigel Gazy of the Prophetic Hill Chapel, who was emphatic that former President Mahama will win with 52.1%.
The Lord came to me and told me that the nation should bring back Kwame Dramani of the NDC. The Lord said he should bring back Kwame Dramani of the NDC. And the Lord said, through Kwame Dramani of the NDC, it's going to place the nation on a good place. I saw the NDC win the next general election with 52.1%. I saw the NDC win the general election. I saw Kwame Dramani win with 52.1%. Hear me and hear me.
Founder and leader of the Glorious Wave Church, Reverend Emmanuel Bedu-Kobi, is also predicting a win for President Akufo-Addo.
I'm watching everything.
Now,
but by the way, the elections of 2020 is already done on. It's finished. They finished it. And if you check how it was done, the ruling party won. How it was done. So,
well, that is the spiritual realm. The Economic Intelligence Unit, in its latest report, said it expects President Akufo-Addo and the NPP to secure re-election in 2020. It further stated if the NDC can present a coherent opposition and hold the NPP to account on an unfulfilled campaign promise, particularly on infrastructure development as well as private sector development, including job creation and industrialization, where progress has been generally slow and success patchy, the election could be closely contested. We've been speaking to some Ghanaians on what they make of these prophecies and projections. We've also been asking them whether it will influence their choice in the December polls.
For me, I don't believe in those kind of prophecies, seriously, concerning elections. Elections are won based on the manifesto the party presents and what the people believe in it. So we have a lot of countless of prophecy that a lot of pastors said NDC was going to win, whatever be the case, and it turned upside down. So for me, something relating to election prophecy, sometimes for me, I doubt, seriously, I doubt about it. But I believe in prophecies, but for election's sake, I don't think so. Anything can happen. So I don't believe in prophecy concerning elections.
I don't believe in prophecy, and I don't begrudge any prophet bringing their stance as to who will win in 2020. Each and every individual has a political affiliate, like myself. I don't strictly belong to one political party. I just listen to their manifesto and look at who is possible can deliver. Then I vote for the person.
I wasn't there when God showed the vision to them. I wasn't there. So what we can do from our side is watch also Ben past prophecies and then find out how accurate it is. And
the Ghana Education Service has announced that all senior high schools across the country are to resume academic activities on January 5, 2020. In a press release signed by the head of GESPR unit, Cassandra Chum Ampofo, this is to enable final year students to have ample time to prepare for the 2020 West African Senior School Certificate examination.
The statement signed by Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Education Service, Cassandra Chum Ampofo, stated that Form 1 and 2 Green Track as well as Form 1 Gold Track students will also reopen on the 5th of January 2020 to complete their first semester. Students are expected to return over the weekend to ensure that full academic work resumes on Monday, 6th January 2020. However, Form 2 Gold Track will resume on the 1st of March 2020. It is expected that Form 2 Gold students will have a full session to continue unfinished part of their first semester and also continue through to end the second semester for the 2019-2020 academic year. All staff, parents, students and the general public are to take note of the dates. Management of the Ghana Education Service wishes to assure the general public that the academic calendar has been well planned to ensure that each cohort of students receive the mandatory 8 months of schooling and 1,134 contact hours by the end of the academic year.
Joining us on the phone line is Head of Public Relations Unit at the Ghana Education Service, Cassandra Chum Ampofo. Good evening to you. Thanks for your time, Cassandra.
Good evening, Aisha. Happy New Year.
Many happy returns. At the inception of the policy, government hinted of contingencies to engage the energies of the students. It's been over a year into implementation and there's no clear-cut intervention along those lines. How is that, especially with 3 more holiday months for the Gold Track?
Well, thank you so much, Aisha, and your viewers. Yes, we have started the intervention. Maybe you do not know, but we have started the intervention, and that's basically why we are even asking the third years who went to school in August and should have completed their first semester by now are going back on the 5th so that they would have time. We have teachers. We've trained all the heads as I speak to you in January. We're training all the core subject teachers on the intervention specifically. We started last year, and so it's ongoing in the schools. Anytime they are in school, there's intervention. And so effective teaching and learning will go on, and then we can prepare them adequately for the impending exams. And then intervention is also not for the third years only. We have that also for the second years and then the first years. And so just like your colleague indicated or said in my release, on the 5th, all of them are going to school apart from 2 who would go back to school on the 1st of March.
Now, how do you think the move will factor into the performance of this year's candidates, and how are students and teachers being prepared to meet these demands, especially when we've had some strikes there?
Yes, and so the strike period is over. We have engaged them, and everything is settled now. The teachers are prepared. And then we started last year. If you're asking me the impact of this intervention or preparing them adequately, we saw how they performed well, especially in mathematics. Last year we had good WASI results, and it's all because of the situations that we had, or how we prepared the students for the exams. And so we are very sure that in preparing them again very hard this time, they should have started the second semester in March. And, in March too, they start practicals from then. So looking at the time, and then the June, that's even the last person will write the last paper, they wouldn't have that time. And that's the reason why we have even shifted to the 5th of January, so that they will have the time. And so definitely the intervention that we are going to have for them, especially for the Form 3, would have an impact, and we'll see the results at the end of the exam.
So have all adequate funds been released for the smooth running of this plan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Interventions, you can ask any teacher. Last year, government paid. We had 50 per students. And then apart from that, on the bill that the CFHS covered, we have 20 per student. And so if you put the 50 students and then the 20 students together, it means that government is paying 70 students per head for every student. So depending on the number of students you have in the school, government is paying, and then it's being shared amongst the teachers. And so the funds are ready.
We're grateful for your time. Cassandra Chum Ampofo is a public relations officer at the Ghana Education Service. And that's how we draw the cases on the bulletin on behalf of the rest of the team here. Enjoy your evening.